Welcome to Memorial Cooking Innovations. I'm Tim Scallon, registered dietitian, and with me today is Chef Mike Hodgkin, Director of Food Nutrition Services at CHI St. Luke's Health Memorial. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Tim. Thank you for having me back.
Hey, no problem. Anytime. You're always welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Mike, over the years, I've learned here on Memorial Cooking Innovations a lot of skills that have enhanced my food experience at home.
Right.
And so on today's show, we want to share with you some of those skills and identify some of the essential kitchen tools that can make cooking easier.
Right.
So, Mike, recently you showed me how chefs use knives in the kitchen. But before we see that, let's learn a little bit more about this essential kitchen tool, the knife.
Well, over my years in the kitchen at being a chef, I've seen a lot of errors, a lot of good things, and try to pick up a few things. And I'd like to show you today some of the things I've learned and hopefully save a few Band-Aids in your future. The first thing I like to do is, if someone is going out and starting out and wanting to buy good knives, there's 2 or 3 good brands out there. Myself, I like German knives, but it's what feels good for you. You want to get one that when you pick it up, it fits your hand. It's got to feel solid and feel good. You want to make sure when you grip a knife, you put this is called the heel of the knife, your thumb on one side, your forefinger on the other. Keep your other fingers out of the way. That way you got a solid feel for the knife. If you're starting out buying knives, there's probably 3 that you should really start out with. This is a French knife. It's also called a chef's knife. It's also, I believe it's called a utility knife. And those names are all very well used because it will do everything. It'll cut, dice, anything you want it to do. You can open cans with it, but if it's a good knife, you probably don't want to do that. But it is strong enough to do that. It's just an all-around purposeful knife. The second knife I would buy would be a slicer. Now, there's 2 kinds of slicers. One is a straight edge, like this, and this is best for like turkey, roast beef, items like that. This is a serrated edge knife. Again, it's better for breads and tomatoes or anything with a tough skin that you want to cut through quickly without compressing the item you're cutting. But it can also be used for turkey and roast beef as long as you don't press too hard, because you will shred it. But it will slice very nicely. If you only wanted one of the 2, I'd prefer the serrated edge. The third knife is your paring knife. Just because it's small doesn't mean it's not sharp. People probably get cut with these more than anything else because they're going to use these for fine cutting, your garde-manger work, cutting pies, apples, little things like that. And that's where people mess up, because they're cutting an apple, they're not paying attention. When you're carrying a knife, you always want to pay attention to what you're doing. Remember what this hand and this hand is doing, okay? Now, as you can see, I have assorted other knives here. This is called a boning knife. Again, it's a useful knife. It'd probably be number 4 on my list, because this is where you can take, and if you can imagine, I don't know how many people out there have ever carved a leg or a steamship round. You probably haven't. But if you think of a pork chop, and you think of the bone that goes around the pork chop, the point of this knife can go right in and cut right around that bone. And it'll follow the bone, so it'll leave little to no meat left behind. Again, this is for raw cooking. You can use it for cooked meats, but it's really made for raw meats because it is so pointy. I already told you about the flat-sided slicer. Very good knife. This is another size. These knives will come from 8-inch to 14-inch. This is a 12-inch. I do not use this in the kitchen normally, mostly because it takes a lot of room. And if you got someone working your horse the other way, you got to watch out for their fingers as well as your own, because it's just so long. But for cutting watermelon, cutting pizza, it is fantastic because you go down once, you got the whole thing. This will go across the whole watermelon. Put your fingers here, your hand here, crunch down on it. It's going to go through. Okay? This is my play thing. This is the equalizer. So, what I'd like to show you first is how to hold the knife. I showed you that. Now, this is called an oil stone. It's also called an oil carborundum stone. This one is way more expensive than what someone would want to use in a household, because in this one there's 3 stones to it: coarse, medium, and fine stones. You do not, in a normal kitchen, 1 stone is fine, and you'd probably buy the medium stone. When you use this stone, or any stone, what you want to do is imagine a nickel between the stone and the blade of the knife. That is the angle you want to keep. And you want to make sure when you bring this around, you don't have to do it really hard, because if you do it really hard, you're going to end up making a little groove or a dent in your knife, because the pressure is going to be strongest where you have your fingers. So you're going to make sure you start at the heel, and start at the heel and just drag it along all the way evenly with even pressure. Now that's going to put an edge on the stone, edge on the knife. But in doing that, you're still going to be, it's very rough. Think of sanding wood. If anybody's worked with wood, you go start with a coarse sandpaper and work your way down to a very, very fine sandpaper. Well, with steel, it's a little bit harder than that, because it's hotter than that. So what you want to do is start with the stone. In this case, that's why we have the 3 stones. Start with the heaviest ground, coarsest grain, go to the fine grain, and then finish it off with a steel. The steel will true the knife. It will take out any indentations, any coarseness, any snags. I know what I'm looking for, so I can see it, but normal people probably wouldn't understand it. But a few strokes with the steel after they use the stone, they'll definitely know the difference. Again, you start at the top with the heel of the hand, of the knife at the top. You bring it down with the distance of a nickel. You always want to keep that and just gently bring it down, just like that. Do not go fast. It's cute that it goes fast, but it's not worth the Band-Aids. You just go like that, and if you do it 3 or 4 times, it's probably sufficient. Now, when you buy a knife, most cases, the more expensive the knife, the harder the steel. The harder the steel, the harder the sharpen. But this knife right here is probably 23 years old. I've had to sharpen it twice in that 23 years, and I use it just about every day at home. Now, the steel, that's sharpening it. Using the steel, I'll probably do it once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, depends on how it feels. Because you get if you just drop this on the floor, you're going to mess up the blade. So you want to true the steel when you can. Now, one way people do it, I find it awkward, but it's the safest way, is they go down. And as you can see, I'm not good with it, but I suppose if you practice that way, it's the safest. I'm old. I'm sorry. I have to do it traditionally and act like I'm cutting my arm off. Okay, that takes care of the sharpening. Now, I picked out a few vegetables here that are probably the most common and most dangerous to cut with, or to be cut with. We'll start with an onion. Now, there's a whole bunch of different ways to cut an onion or dice an onion. Some people would like to, and I'll just start this here first, get it started. You want to cut both sides. And the reason I'm doing this is because the faster you can get your item to cut to a flat surface, the better off you are. Because if you keep it cutting on a round surface, it's just not smart. You can imagine, try to cut this like this versus like this. It's just not intelligent. Now, you're going to see some people on TV do the little knife thing through here and then cut down through to make diced onions. It looks real good on camera. But I've seen a lot of chefs, TV chefs, that when they start getting crunched for time, they're going to do it this way. Now, you have to be very aware of what you're doing. Your knife should have to be sharp, and you just come down straight through it like this. Just carefully doing it, watching your knife, watching your fingers, and holding it together, okay? And then you just do the same thing the other way. You have perfectly diced onions, and you can do them as small as you want, any way you want, okay? That is the safest way. And believe me, the onion cut, when you cut an onion and cut you just a nick, the juice of the onion gets in that cut, it burns. It really, really burns. So you don't want to do it twice. This is something too that sounds very, very simple. Never wipe the blade this way. It will cut through the cloth to you, if it's a good knife. This way, you can't get cut. There is no way you're going to get cut. Go away, down, and away from you like that. it's the only way to wipe a knife off. Okay, now a tomato. We take and do it, say you want to dice a tomato, okay? One, you just come down like this. Now, this one is a pretty sharp knife. If this wasn't so sharp, I'd use a serrated edge, but in this case, I don't have to. Now, I'm going to show you a nice, easy way to dice up a tomato. Again, going fast is cute. It's not worth the Band-Aids. Power it back up like that. Come down again, and if you have a nice knife and do nice even strokes, the tomatoes stay together. Whoop, that one didn't stay together, it's stuck. I need to come back down again. But if you want to make a salsa or saute tomatoes for a tomato sauce, there you go, just like that. No Band-Aids. Now you don't want to waste this, okay? So just take this and twist it around. Well, I won't take that off here. There we go. But you can twist it around. Again, this is when you get more used to your fingers, where they are. That's all the wasted tomato right there. And again, you can throw that right in your diced tomatoes, in your guacamole or whatever, and there's no waste. Okay? Now, you got two more. This is another thing. If you have a potato peeler, you look at the potato peeler, and there's two kinds of potato peelers. One will have a rotating edge like this. The other one doesn't. It's solid. Now, this is something that I've never seen anybody else do it. I do it. I show everybody else, and then they start doing it. When you peel a carrot, you go like that, and you go back and back and back. This thing has two blades. It rocks. Why can't you go like this? It works for me. Just like that. It's so much faster. I'm sorry, I'm making a little bit of a mess here. That's the other thing. When you want to knock things off a knife, do it from the back side. It saves the blade. So that's a clue on when you buy one. And get one that has the nice rubber handle. This can peel your skin as well as it can peel a carrot. And it will really rip your fingernails good. Okay, we're going to use this. Now again, dangerous. You want to clip the end off. Clip the end off. Cut it. Do not, unless you want to use the big knife, don't do this. That's too much and it's going to slip on you. Cut it in half. Okay, now, hold your finger like this, put the heel of the knife in like that. It's not going to go anywhere. Just like that. Carrots are one of those, I can say these 3 items I have right here, 4 items I have, probably create more cuts than I can think of anything else. Now, we're going to do a julienne strip. We just go down like this, and then you do it like this. And this is great in soups. It's very, very good if you want to saute them up afterward and make a little bird's nest of vegetables to put something in. Especially if you add zucchini and yellow squash with the carrot sticks and make them all the same size, saute them all off together. There's your 2-inch julienne strips. So when they say julienne, they mean this. If they say chopped, they'll usually mean the size of these tomatoes here. I'll use the onions, you can see it better. When they say dice, it's about this size, maybe a little bit smaller, but it depends on the item. If you're going to do a soup or something, this is great. If you're going to do a sauce, you'd want them half that size for a dice. This is also called, as the Europeans call it, peasant cooking. That came from the French because they always thought they came up with the julienne cut. They came up with all these pretty little names. And if you weren't French, then everything was a peasant cut because you didn't know what you were doing. So it's just something to learn. Poblano peppers. Since I've been in this area, I've learned about the poblano peppers. I love them. They are fantastic. But again, you get the double whammy here. You not only get cut by the peppers, but you get sprayed by the juice, and you don't want to wipe your eyes after you cut them because the juice will get in your eyes. So what you want to do is cut it in half, just like that. Take the seeds out. If you just rip it like that, it comes out real easy. Knock it a little bit, pretty clean, right, just like that. Okay. Again, what I usually do, if you want it, first thing you want to do julienne. Oh, if you notice, I don't cut it like this. The skin is really tough. It's going to make it spray way more. Cut it from the inside. You can cut it really thin. Just keep your fingers out of the way, and just keep going, nice and slow cuts. and it won't spray back so much. But again, that's the benefit of having a nice sharp knife. And there's your julienne strips. So for your fajitas, there's your peppers for your fajitas. Just like that. Well, I've shown you a few tips to help you in the kitchen, and please keep watching Memorial Cooking Innovations to learn more tips in the future.
I'd like you, the culinary professional, to show me, the dietitian, how to chop these vegetables.
Okay, I'll show you I'll do half, then you show me how you're going to do it afterward.
Okay, okay.
And the first thing to do is, like on a mushroom, the first end here is a little bit woody. So you want to cut that off.
Okay.
Then you just take, and you want to work from a flat surface. It's always the best way you can do it is work from a flat surface.
All right.
And you don't want it too thick, so you just want to take and just cut it right down easy like that.
Okay.
Keep it pretty, and you see how my fingers are on this end?
Yeah.
How they're right at the very end, and where the blade is right there?
Yeah.
That way you don't have to worry about it. If you stay aware of where your fingers are, especially the non-cutting hand.
All right.
Now on the pepper, the best way to do pepper I found is to split it right down the middle.
Okay.
Then you can take out the seeds, because some people like me are not from Texas, and the seeds are where all the potency is.
You know what I've learned,
Yeah.
and I've learned this on Memorial Cooking Innovations, is any pepper, if you don't want it more spicy, you seed it.
Yes. Yeah, when you're in the north, coming south, you learn that real quick. Yeah, that's one thing you would do.
And you know, even though I'm from Texas, I've also learned that, you know, jalapenos are hot, but if you seed them,
They're cuts in half or more. Cuts in half or more.
Yeah.
Okay, now on peppers, the outside skin is very tough.
Yes.
So I always like cutting on the inside.
Okay.
And that way you're cutting the hard skin against the board versus the soft skin against the board and squishing all the juices out, which make them fly into your eyes.
I got you.
So cut down the juice.
And you're losing flavor when you do that.
So and you just want to kind of drag it along. Now again, this knife is very sharp, so it's very, very easy. I'm just doing a nice little julienne slice here.
That's going to go good on the pizza.
Yeah, you want to keep it thin because you don't want it to, you want it to be cooked, but you don't want to burn the outside edges. Because remember, everything has to cook at the same time.
And I notice you're keeping your left fingers back out of the way.
Yes, keep them out of the way. Going fast is cute. It's fun on TV.
Yeah.
But I'm going to do these a julienne, which is a thin 2-inch strip.
Okay.
Like that.
Okay.
Going fast on TV is really nice and showy, but it could create a lot of Band-Aids in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
we don't want Band-Aids.
I don't like Band-Aids.
The only red on my pizza I want is that tomato sauce.
That's right. Nothing that natural. So, and onion again, you saw how I cook off both ends? That was rounded.
Yeah.
Now I set it down. Now I have a flat surface.
Yeah.
I cut it in half.
Yeah.
I take out the outside peeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Now again, I have flat surfaces to work from.
Okay.
Okay, now there's a bunch of different ways people show how to dice. There's one way where the person goes in like this, but that is pointing the knife right at your fingers, and you're only going halfway through. So what are you going to do with the other half?
Yeah.
You know, they never show you doing the whole onion.
Yeah.
Okay, so now again...
move this back out of the way.
Okay, move that out of the way. Then my way isn't, I would say, the safest way, but it works really, really good. Now, I want to do these these are julienne.
Yeah.
I'm going to do these a dice.
Okay.
Only just to show you the difference. And you just take, I know it's going to be hard on the camera to see, but what you're doing is just slicing the onion straight down and holding the onion together while you do it.
Okay.
Okay, just like that. Now you take and you cut in just like this.
Still keeping that flat surface down.
It's flat surface down.
Look how easy that is.
And you're doing the whole onion.
There you go. There you go.
Just like that. Nice diced onions.
Okay.
Again, you wipe your knife off. Always going away from the blade. Away from your hand, away from the blade.
Okay.
Just like when you're wiping a knife. You take a knife, hold it back way too, wipe the back of the knife off. That way you want, because this goes like this, it'll cut right through the rag and into your hand.
Yeah.
If it's a good knife, it'll do that.
Okay.
I don't even like to show how it could be.
Okay.
That's how dangerous it is. Okay, now I'm going to let you try.
Okay. All right.
There you go.
Let me trade places with you. Okay, so I'm going to start with this mushroom, and I'm going to cut off. Okay, now you were holding that knife like this.
You
Is
hold
that
it by
correct?
the heel. Exactly right. I should have pointed that out. The thumb on one side, your forefinger on the other, and you get a solid grip. That way, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not flopping around. I don't like Ginsu knives for that reason. The blade can go all over the place.
Yeah.
This knife here, it's a French knife. It's going to go where you point it. Yeah, so if you cut yourself, it's your fault. It's not the knife's.
Okay. Okay. Now I'm going to...
And you want to double your fingers under a little bit.
Like that.
Make a claw.
Like that.
There you go.
Okay. Now I'm going to work at my speed on this, okay?
Okay, you work at it.
You know, Mike, I'm getting faster at this.
Yeah, you sure are.
All right. 2 months ago, we used these cutting techniques to make a pizza. And so if you really want to make a delicious and healthy pizza, go back and check out that show. Now, there are hundreds of other recipes on the Memorial Cooking Innovations website. So check out that website and practice your new knife skills. Now, speaking of knives, you want to have the right cutting board. Plastic is best because it's non-porous. If I cut meat, I can stick it in the dishwasher.
Right, sterilize it out.
Sterilize it. And also it doesn't dull the knives. So plastic is your better cutting board material. So what about other essential kitchen tools? So Mike, there are hundreds of pots and pans. So what do we really need?
Well, essentially, I would go with 4. A small saute pan for individual items like omelets, eggs. A larger one for steaks, hamburgers. A small sauce pot for soups, individual soups, gravies, and the Dutch oven. Because the Dutch oven is really a universal pan.
Just for anything you're going to cook large volume.
You can do everything. Yeah.
Well, and if you want to measure correctly, you need a 2-cup measure, okay, and this is a liquid measure, okay, so you're going to measure up to the line and pour it. And you also need a dry measure, at least a 1 cup. Now, these usually come in sets, and obviously sometimes you need to measure a 1/4 cup, so that's a good thing. But now, Mike, what if we're new to cooking and we're not used to measuring?
Well, you know, measuring is for the novice cook, I consider it, and any recipes that you've never done before, anything that's unfamiliar.
So a new recipe,
Right.
even if you're a trained chef.
Right, because you know nobody knows everything, and once you get going and learning what you like, what you don't like, it'll come kind of natural that you're going to adjust the recipes. The recipe is a guide.
So you may not need that half teaspoon of oregano.
No.
You just know how much oregano.
You're going to know how much you want.
Yeah,
Because you start cooking for you or for whoever.
Well, and you know, as a dietitian, that's been a hard thing for me to learn because, you know, we have to be so precise about everything.
Right.
But I've learned, and this is an example of how training here with you chefs and on the show, that has enhanced my cooking at home. Okay, so Mike, do you remember this?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
It's probably the one I grew up with.
It might be the one you grew up with. Well, okay, so then the next generation was this box cheese grater, and that was better. At least it gave you a flat surface to put it on.
Right.
But far superior to either one of these is the rotary cheese grater.
Yes, yes. And it saves on a lot of manicures.
Yeah.
You know,
unintentional manicures.
Yes, yes.
And you don't want that fingernail in your grated Parmesan.
No, and it doesn't feel great either.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Okay, and almost every household in America has one of these.
Yeah.
And if you want to get the best wine opener there is, it is not this kind.
That's correct.
The better wine opener that's far superior is this type of wine opener. So it's a better lever action. It includes a knife that you go around the top with the bottle. It's just a better tool.
Right. You familiar with the name or the nickname for
that? No.
It's a nickname in the restaurant food as a captain's knife.
Okay.
Because especially in the New York area, they would designate, or there'd be a specialized person to get the wine.
A sommelier.
Right, because the wine is very expensive. You don't want mistakes. And that person would be the one assigned to getting the wine and opening it. And that is made where you can hold the bottle in one hand and open it up with the other.
Okay,
so it's a very, very neat trick. And it holds in a pocket real well.
Okay, there you go. And then also, our grandmothers used this kind of juicer, and it works.
It's beautiful.
It actually works very good. In fact, if you're going to juice an orange just to drink, this is probably the best thing to do. But these days, a much better tool is the lemon squeezer.
Right.
And you know what I like about this is it keeps the seeds in here. You don't have to fish them out.
And you get a very little pulp and almost all the juice.
Yeah.
They really work good.
Much better tool. Today, we've learned a few essential kitchen tools. Mike has shown us the basics on knives and cutting skills. Check us out online or on YouTube to select a recipe and practice your new knife skills.
Hey, excuse me, Tim, but is a wine opener really an essential tool, do you think?
Well, have you ever tried to open a bottle of wine without one?
Well, sometimes a can opener would be a lot more essential.
It'd be awfully hard to open a bottle of wine with a can opener.
But it's if you have a timer and a colander, that could come in a lot more handy.
I guess you could use a hacksaw to get it open.
Yeah, and you probably could use, if you followed one of our previous menus, you would use a pizza knife.
You good? Yeah. Yep. Okay, and also kitchen shears would be an essential tool.
Right.
Or if
tongs.
Tongs, or if I was going to carve meat.
Carve a knife. You need a fork and a knife.
You need a heavy fork.
A potato masher, a potato peeler.
Okay, slotted spoons.
Right.
Memorial Cooking Innovations is made possible through the generous efforts of Brookshire Brothers, a celebration of family and community, CHI St. Luke's Memorial, the Polk Education Center, Sodexo Food Service, and the City of Lufkin, KLTX Channel 15.